Hello Peaches, welcome back to Dear Peachy. This video has been one of the highly requested topics from you guys, and we have done some research on this to make sure that we are able to bring something informational and helpful for you all. I am sure that we all had those bad brows days back in high school or college that we don't want to think about anymore. Our brows looking the shape of a tadpole? Someone just get that memory out of my mind, please. Well, do you know that eyebrow shaping is something that can accentuate your appearance? The suitable eyebrow can literally change how you look. However, finding the suitable brow shape that flatters your facial features is always so hard to understand. Just like hairstyle, certain brows look better on certain face shapes. But how do you know if you need a sharp arch, a soft curve, or a straighter structure? In this video, we will talk about everything on how to get the most suitable brow shape and placement based on your facial proportion. If you are still struggling on this, please keep on watching. As usual, our video will be divided into different parts. You can click on the timestamp to refer to the parts here. Before we get to the how-to, let's learn about the different parts of our brows. Starting from the front, we call this part here the brow's front or brow's head. The end of our brow is called as brow's tail. The point which is lifted is called as the arch. Let's start with the shape of brow's front. There is actually no hard and fast rule when it comes to shaping the shape of brow's front. The most important step you should remember for this is never fill in your brow's front too dark. If you have dark front brows naturally, you will just need to fill in the sparse areas lightly with few strokes. Normally, we do not really have to shape our brow's front into any specific shapes or styles. However, there are a few factors that we will still need to consider, and there are actually few brow front shapes that you can try out too. First, the distance between your brows and your eyes. If your brows are close to your eyes, you can consider the inwards brow's front. If you look closely at the front of the inwards brow's front, you can see that lower inner corner is directed towards inwards. Inward brow front style is usually worn by the famous K-drama celebrities like Yoo and Na and K-pop singer IU. This type of brow's front style can help to reduce the impression of our eyebrows being too close to our eyes. Besides, having your eyebrows being too close to your eyes will actually lengthen your mid-face's proportion. So this tip will help to balance your facial proportions better. Inward brow's front will make you look more innocent and youthful looking too. In opposition, if you are having normal distance between your brows and your eyes, you can consider the box shape or the funnel-shaped brow's front style. We usually see the box-shaped brow's front is commonly preferred in the Western makeup. We can see that it has a clear defined vertical straight line at the front of the brows. On the other hand, the funnel shape has a defined V shape at the front of the brows. Just like a funnel, the inward brow front is actually the opposite of the funnel-shaped brow front, and the latter is most commonly worn by majority of the girls in their daily makeup. You might not even realize that you are actually having the funnel-shaped eyebrow. This is because the direction of growth of our eyebrows is growing towards the up and backwards of our brows. By following the natural growth direction of our brow hairs, the funnel-shaped brow front style is actually the most natural looking brow shape compared to the others. Here is another tip that you should take note. If you have longer mid-face or your nose proportion is slightly longer, you can try to add a few strokes at the bottom inner corner area. This is because our mid-face actually starts from the base of our brow's front and continue all the way down to base of our nose. Adding a few strokes at the base of your brow front can help to shift the base lower and thus shortening the length of your mid-face. Next, the distance between both brows. The distance between both brows can be referred from the distance between both of our eyes. If you have wide-set eyes, you can shift the front of your brows slightly forward, so both of your brows will be closer to each other. This will help to reduce the focus of your eyes being too wide. Having your brows too far apart from one another will make your eyes looking wider apart. This tip here can definitely help to improve your facial proportion effectively. If you have close-set eyes, you can shift your brows front slightly further from each other. It works just like the theory I explained just now. Having wider distance between your brows can also help to reduce the focus of your eyes being too close to each other. However, fixing the distance between brows front is not enough in balancing the proportion of your eyes. Eye makeup plays a big role in this too. Also, there is something that we need to say is, no matter you are having close or wide set brows, it doesn't have any relation to the density of your brows. Having wide set brows doesn't mean that you will need to fill in your brow front darker. This will make your brows look unnatural. Always remember that our brow's front has to be the lightest compared to the other parts of our brow. Next is brow arch. Brow arch is the most important part of our brows when it comes to defining one style. It's up to you if you want arched brows or you just prefer straight brows. Straight brows look more graceful and it suits people with oval or round face shapes. On the other hand, if you prefer arched brows, the shape and placement of the arch will actually affect the overall style. First, let's look into the placement of brow arch. If your brow arch is placed further away from the tail of your brows, this can help you to look younger, fresher, and smarter. Contrastingly, having your brow arch closer to the brow's tail will give you the elegant and classy look. Straight brows normally give people the impression of being graceful and delicate, but brows with arch closer to the tail will look more elegant and smarter. Besides that, brows arch closer to the brow's tail suits girls with narrow forehead better. This is because this brow's arch placement can help to lengthen the proportion of your forehead visually. Let's take a look at our face. If you are facing forward and there is a light source hitting directly on your face, you will realize that the area at both sides of your forehead will not get hit by the direct light source, hence causing the shadows. And when you try to turn your head to the side, the light source will hit at the side of your face, so the shadow will be casting on the front of your forehead. This is actually the area connecting your forehead to your temple. If we draw a line between these two areas, this will be the front of your forehead and here will be the sides or the temple region. This line is called as the turning line. If the turning line is placed closer to the brow front, your forehead will look narrower. If it is towards the back, your forehead will then look wider. So the placement of this turning line will decide where should we shape our brows arch. If you try to shape your brows arch towards the back, then visually, this line will be shifted to the back. In conclusion, shaping your brows arch towards the end will lengthen the width of your forehead. Second, the shape of your brow arch. If you have a sharper arch, you will look more matured or powerful. A soft arch will then give a softer or more delicate impression. Now, moving on to the last part of our brow, the brow's tail. We will also talk about the placement and shape of brow's tail in this part. A longer brow's tail will help to lengthen the width of the temple region. This tip is useful when it comes to girls who have sunken temple. However, extending the brow's tail is not the only method that can be used to improve this. There are many more alternatives that you can try to further enhance your temple region. On the other hand, lengthening the brow's tail will also give a more matured image compared to shorter brow's tail. Besides that, tail of the brow should be trimmed, because long and thick brow's tail will not help to enhance or refine your other features but looking chunky and messy instead. So always remember to shape your brow's tail thinner if you are opting for longer brows. What about the shorter brow's tail? In contrast, shorter ends will make you look younger and adorable. Do you all still remember that the Korean straight brows has took over the Asian makeup trend few years back? Those brows are straight, thick and short. Many girls were so into it. However, there were also many girls found out that the Korean straight brows actually don't suit them. And we can see that beauty trends are not always the standard. We learn and we adapt. Most importantly, do what makes you feel confident the most. If you prefer your style to be cute or young, or if you have a longer face shape, straight brows will be a great option for you to try out. Next, how to decide to go for the thicker or thinner brows? To know if we are suitable for thicker or thinner brows, we will need to look at the width of upper portion of our face. If you have a bigger forehead, other than enhancing it with the placement of hairline, you can also shape your brows to improve it. We can fill in our brows higher to shorten the width of forehead. Look at the difference. A very simple step, but it makes a big impact on your overall facial proportion visually. Other than that, if you have a wider distance between your brows and your eyes, you can fill them in lower to shorten the distance visually. Girls with narrow forehead will then need to shape their brows thinner, so it will lengthen the upper portion ratio. Having said that, thinner brows will make one look more matured. So what we can do here is try to line the color of our brows. Lighter color brows will neutralize the matured impression of dark and thin brows. Part 5. The curve of brows. The curve of eyebrows normally will be decided based on our face shapes and the style that you prefer. For girls with longer face shape, less curved or arched brows will be more suitable for you. If we look at Rose here, raising the curve of her brows will actually further elongate her mid-face proportion, causing her face to look longer, opposed to long face shape. Shorter face shape can have a more curvy or arched brows to lengthen their facial proportion. You can look at Zuyu's example here. So it is really up for you to decide if you want your face to look shorter or longer. Surely, this is just the general idea of how to decide if you are suitable for curved or straight brows, because majority of us are not having just the same face shape. For example, Some might have short and square face shape. Or, some might have longer heart-shaped face. There are so many different combinations. There is no one-size-fits-all formula to decide on this. But this can certainly give you a direction. If you have more prominent features or face shape with sharp edges, like square face or diamond face shapes, you can consider softer eyebrow style. Softer eyebrow style will help to tone down the sharpness of your face. For example, long square face. Straight brows will suit long face better, and square face is categorized as face shapes with sharper angles. So brows with slight curve will help to tone the edges of our cheekbones or jawlines. For short diamond face shapes, if you wish to make your face look longer and slimmer, then you will need to add a little curve to your brows. Brows with slight arch will be great for short diamond face shapes, but always keep the arch soft. Just a natural curve will be enough. On the other hand, if your face shape is less edged, like oval or round face shapes, brows with or without arch is all up to your style preference. In order to make your brows look more soft or sharp actually depends on the edges of our brows. Look at the edges of our brows. Is it dark or lightly filled? And are the strokes curved or straight? If the edge is lightly filled, it will look softer and more delicate. In contrast, dark filled edge lines will have more defined edges. To know the brows have straight or curved strokes, we will normally take the point at our brows arch as the turning point. The strokes starting from the turning point to brow front and tail will be observed. If the strokes from the turning point to the brow front and tail are straight, it will have a more defined or sharper edge. The Western makeup normally prefers brows like this, and brow pomade are used to achieve this style. If the strokes from the turning point to the brow front and tail are curved, this is the brow shape usually preferred by Asian ladies back in the 50s era. Fast forward to now. The Asian beauty world now prefers brows with straight lower edge and curved upper edge like this. This brow shape looks more natural but doesn't make people look more mature than their age. Part 6. The last part. Edges of our brows. If you have understood the key points explained earlier in the previous parts, I guess your brows are almost looking perfect. Before you are good to go, the last thing we want to say here is the density of your edge lines. In Western makeup, the lower and upper edge are usually fully filled. This method of filling in brows normally suits girls with deeper set eyes or girls with higher brow bone. Most of the Asian girls do not have eyes as deep as the Westerners or high brow bone. The filling in the edge lines of your eyebrows too dark will not suit our facial features. Please do not use the outline method to fill in your brows. This will make your upper and lower edges look harsh and unnatural. To make your eyebrow looks natural, the best way to fill in your edges is fill in the upper edge lightly but darker at the lower edge. Natural brows normally will have lighter upper edge compared to the lower edge. This is because, if you observe, lights are always shining down on us from the above. The upper portion of our brow will always get hit by the lights. The lower part of our brows will not be fully hit by light because the brow hairs have blocked parts of the lights. So, the lower part becomes darker. By following this observation, we can use this method to fill in our brows too. If the distance between your brows and eyes are close, you might need to fill in the lower edge line less dark. Or you can also fill in the upper edge darker, lighter on the lower edge to lift your brows higher. This will make the space between your eyes and your brows looking wider. You can experiment different methods of doing your brows to find out what suits you the most. You have learned all the tricks to shape the most perfect brows for yourself, and now it's time to get on your hands. We found a great tutorial by Xian, a very famous beauty guru in China. I learned a lot of useful makeup tips from her, and this brow tutorial is very suitable for beginners who do not have any idea on how to fill in your brows. Xian says the first stroke should be placed on the center of your brows. The reason why we start filling in from here is, our brow hairs is the thickest here naturally. The natural tone of it is the darkest compared to the other parts. If you accidentally fill in your brows too dark here, it is still okay. The right way to fill them in is by brushing your brow pencil repeatedly across the center part, but not drawing individual strokes like this. If you brush it repeatedly, the color will look even and natural, but individual strokes will have darker front and lighter ends. It will look unnatural when the uneven colors are overlapped on each other. The lower edge of our brow is second darkest out of other parts, because lights are always hitting on us from the above. The upper edge is always getting lined up by lights, so it will look lighter compared to the other parts. The lower edge will look darker due to the blockage of lights by our brow bone and brow hairs, so the lower edge color must be darker than the upper edge. Continuing from the first step, you can now slowly move your brow pencil upwards to fill in the upper edge lightly. Remember to not put high pressure on your skin and always use the brushing motion to fill in the entire center of your brows. For brows tail, you will need to fill it in by using the pulling motion like what she is doing now. Slightly fill it in lower at the end of the tail, but always make sure that the level of tail is not lower than the level of your brows front. Having brows tail level too low will make you look like you're unhappy. You can then draw the individual strokes like this for your brows front. You can draw them by following your natural brows hair direction. You do not need to draw those strokes individually just like real brows, but this method can make brow looks natural by combining your brow makeup with the actual brow hair's direction. It will also look more airy comparing to the common brushing method we see on the internet. When you're done, there are 2 things you will need to check. First, your brows front should be the lightest. Second, the level of your brows tail shouldn't be lower than your brows front. They can be both shaped at the same level or brows tail slightly higher. Besides that, the tone of the colors for natural looking brows should be darkest to lightest following the sequence here. Center, lower edge, brows tail, upper edge and brows front. If you can't remember, just keep in mind that brows front should be lighter than brows tail. Upper edge should be lighter than lower edge. The center of your brows is the darkest. By mastering these techniques, you will be able to step up your brow game by now. Before we end this video, Shein has a few tips here for the beginners. When you're filling in your brows, remember that your brow arch should not be thicker than your brows front. Some girls prefer to have more defined arch to accentuate their features, but this way of filling in brows is actually for man. If girls are using this method, it will not be suitable for us. Usually, girls will have the thickest brows front with light color and it becomes thinner when it goes to the end. The width of our brow arch can be thinner or almost the same as our brows front. The color at brows arch should not be overemphasized. Never use gray tone brow pencil if you're having colored skin. She is now showing how we look if we use gray color brow pencil for our brows. A lot of girls thought that they are having dark hair colors, so they should brow products with gray undertone to match with their hair color. Shein recommends everyone to try out brow products with brown color with gray undertone. Asian skin tone is generally having yellow undertone. It's a warm color tone. If it is matched with cool tone color brows, your makeup will look messy and more matured. She says gray color brows look like our mother's tattoo brows. She is just so hilarious. The tips that she mentioned here are applied for most of us generally. You can twitch or adapt them on yourself to get the best look. Finally, we have reached the end of our video. We really hope that you guys get to learn something from it. Practice more and try out different brow shapes on yourself. You will never know how much your brows can affect how you look. Feel free to comment down below to tell us which tip you find the most useful for you. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Goodbye.